Hey everybody, it is Trey here with another great edition of Reactions to the Classics. I'm joined by Sean again today, and we got a great one for you as we dissect Bob Dylan's seminal Bringing It All Back Home album. And if this is your first time joining us, we thank you for stopping by. Here at Reactions to the Classics, we look back at some of the most classic albums of all time. Most of the time it's our first listen of the album.
Yes, it is.
And we do detailed track-by-track reviews. We put our research into it. We have the song playing in the background. We try to make it good and concise for you guys as well. So if that sounds like something you are interested in, please hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss what we have in store next. All that to say, guys, let's get into some quick facts.
All right, Trey, well, this thing was released on March 22nd, 1965. It is Dylan's fifth studio album. It peaked at number 1 on the UK charts, but only number 6 on the US charts. It is ranked 31 on the Rolling Stones Best 500 albums of all time. We've been hitting some heavy hitters up there lately. So,
for sure.
And something special about this album.
Yeah, so this is kind of the first move of Dylan from purely folk, acoustic music, down into getting some electric music in here. So this LP is interesting in that the first half is all electric. He's backed by a full-on like rock and roll band, drums, bass, electric guitar, all of that. And then the second half is pretty much just him on his acoustic and his harmonica. He went to the Newport Folk Festival and he introduced electric and got booed off the stage.
Literally booed, and there's video of it. We found it
yeah,
on YouTube.
exactly. We'll link that down below so y'all can check it out because it's a pretty unbelievable whenever he's performing Maggie's Farm, really going in electric, and then he just gets booed quite heavily.
Booing Dylan off the stage.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
So it's a very influential album, not only for Dylan, but kind of for music as a whole.
It is, and some of that may be, this is all speculation, stemming from a meeting in August of 1964, so this was released in March of 65, with John Lennon and the Beatles, but in particular with Lennon. They met in his hotel, in Dylan's hotel room in New York, and Bob Dylan introduced the Beatles to marijuana.
There we go, Bob.
That's at least the story out there. And after this, the Beatles went off into more experimental music, and all of a sudden Dylan comes out with a rock album. So a lot of people believe that, or a half rock album here, believe that that meeting was heavily influential in causing these changes. All right, Trevor, that brings us to our first song, Subterranean Homesick Blues. This thing went all the way to number 39 on the charts, which doesn't sound like much, but it was his first top 40.
Yeah, exactly.
One of his first electric songs, which is what we talked about already, is number 332 on the Rolling Stones top 500 songs of all time. I wouldn't want to try to follow the songwriting on this. This is the only Dylan album I've ever listened to. I listened to this album a little bit this summer, but now, as I usually do if you're a regular watcher, I've listened to this thing 15 times.
Yeah.
And his songwriting is just unbelievable. And if you're a Dylan fan, you're thinking, what does this old guy not know this yet? But I didn't know it yet. Just tremendous. So I just love this song.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to make a little comparison here. It almost has the early grounds of rap in a sense. Just the lyricism, the rhyme schemes in here, both internally and line by line, was really unbelievable. Just the poetry in motion as he's just spitting these lines really, really quick. It's only 2 minutes and some change, and he packs a lot in there. A good message too about going kind of how the government interacts with the people at large, and so I just thought it was a great way to start this album, and it is a much faster pace than this next song, She Belongs to Me, which is more of a love ballad that I also got behind quite a bit. We don't know exactly who Dylan was talking about in this song, but in any case, I thought it was a really great love ballad track. So
and we already mentioned, you mentioned the lyrics on the previous song, and the lyrics with Dylan are more important than anybody basically that we're probably going to ever review on here. And the song's funny because the name of it, She Belongs to Me, and it starts off, She Belongs to Me, but as the song unfolds, you figure out really he belongs to her because he's looking through the keyhole, he's on the outside. It really, she's got control over him. So loved it, thought it was a really good ballad. That brings us to Maggie's Farm, Trey, which is it's an interesting song. I really, really like it. On this album, it's one of the only songs that has a big chorus section. Do you want to tell us kind of about this song? I mean, it's just...
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different interpretations. I was reading about it, and one of the big ones is that he's not going to work in the folk community as much anymore. I'm not going to work on Maggie's Farm no more, in the political sphere as well, because he talks about Ma and Pa, who a lot of people think was Lyndon B. Johnson and
Lady Bird Johnson's wife.
So this was one of my favorites on the entire record.
Mine too, and you hit the nail on the head. And when you start to break down lyrics, and we study these songs a lot from various sources, and I'm telling you, who knows with Bob, right? Bob never really says what his songs are about. So there's all these interpretations because they are so poetic, and there's all these hidden meanings. And you had to be alive and well in 1965 and living through this stuff to really be able to fully understand what he could be alluding to.
Full context too.
Yeah, so it's pretty difficult, but it is a tremendous song, and there's obviously a lot more behind it than he's just not going to go work at Maggie's Farm.
All right, and then that brings us to Love Minus Zero, Over No Limit, another love song.
Yeah.
This was they think that Bob wrote this to his first wife, Sarah Lowndes.
Yes.
And it essentially is talking about how this woman is kind of his rock, his fortress against the outside world that he goes to, and it's all crazy, but she's there and helps him throughout life, essentially.
Yes.
And I didn't like this as much as She Belongs to Me, but I still thought it was a very good track and pretty poetic.
Yeah, I'm right on with you. I didn't like it as much, but it's really good, and its message is what we all need, whether we're rich and famous or whether we're not. We need that person in our life who's a constant to keep us grounded, whether we're getting a lot of acclaim or we're getting a lot of criticism. That brings us up to our next song, Trey, Outlaw Blues, which this song has heavy political, really just social overtones into the fact that it's about the anti-interracial laws, interracial dating laws. They were on the books still in the South at the time of this in the mid-'60s. So Bob is speaking out against it. He's dating a black woman. He's not going to mention her by name because he knows she's going to go to jail. And the only thing I have to say about this song, it's probably my least favorite on here, meaning I still really like it. The only thing I'll say is that you see a lot of people in our society today, I don't want to get political here, but guys that look like me who say, man, the good old days were great. Well, I'll tell you what, songs like this should remind all of us that the good old days weren't great at all. If you're a minority, if you're a woman, the good old days were not great. And thankfully, Bob keeps us right here to remind us of this, of what was going on in 1965.
No, I think that's a great point, and Bob had a very poetic way on this entire album of ending a song as well, because one of the last lines was, I got a brown-skinned woman in Jackson, but I'm not going to mention her by name, so it kind of just brings the song to a big climax that really gets you thinking, and even more so on future listens. So I appreciated that, and I thought it was a good track. Then that brings us into On the Road Again. Personally, my least favorite track, even though I still dug it, but
man, get out of here.
It just didn't have that oomph as I think every other.
No, just get out of here.
And so, there's a lot of great imagery in this song, and pretty much Bob's at his in-laws, and they're just insane, kind of, and even
not that I've been there, but some of you out there understand how that goes.
And even the postman knows this. Everybody knows.
Everybody's got to pick a side.
And Dylan's all like, well, you ask me why I don't stay here. I ask you why you don't leave, or something along those lines. So there are some good, jabs in here that I thought were cool, but as a whole, this wasn't my favorite, even though I still appreciated it.
I guarantee you, just listen to this song. It's so funny, man. It's so funny.
It is funny.
Dad comes in with a Napoleon mask. Yeah. Mom's hiding in the freezer. Grandpa's got a cane that turns into a sword. I mean, who would not? I mean, the imagery, you can imagine all this. It's just absolutely a tremendous song. But I understand everybody's got different tastes. And that brings us to Bob Dylan's 115th Dream. You talk about an epic story. This thing is phenomenal. Now, a couple years earlier, he wrote Bob Dylan's Dream, which is a much more serious take on things. This is about the discovery of America, if we want to call it that, by Christopher Columbus, and Bob's just mocking the entire thing.
Yeah, it has a very surreal sense to it. You have some Moby Dick references too, about the whale and Captain Ahab, and they come on the ship, they're all ready, they got their harpoons, but as soon as they come to America, it's already inhabited and civilized, and they get arrested because they were carrying
harpoons through the town.
Yeah, and Dylan's able to escape jail, and he wants to get everybody in his crew out. At the end of the day, he's flipping a coin, heads or tails. Is he going to go get his buddies, or is he going to leave? Well, he ends up leaving. As he's leaving, he comes across 3 other ships, and who is it? It's Christopher Columbus. And he's like, good luck. So I just thought it was hilarious.
It was great.
It was just
great.
This was probably the best like start to finish story on here.
Oh, it is, and it's long. It's almost 7 minutes long. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so it was humorous and just a great use of imagery. And then next up, we've got the most famous song off of this record, I would say, Mr. Tambourine Man. Been covered a ton as well. I really enjoyed this one that started off the acoustic side of the record.
Yeah, and this song is a number 106 on the Billboard's top 500 songs of all time. So it is a heavy hitter.
And essentially, this was written after Bob experienced some time in New Orleans after Mardi Gras, and he's singing to Mr. Tambourine Man. A bunch of different interpretations on that, ranging from drugs to just singing to his fans, to amuse, to a bunch of stuff. But essentially, this guy's out late at night saying to Mr. Tambourine Man, hey, sing a song for me. And I just thought it was very great.
All right, Trey, this brings us up to Gates of Eden, which is the one that Bob did on his own. He accompanied himself on the guitar and the harmonica.
Yeah, and this is interesting because you think of Eden as a paradise a lot of the time, but this time Bob takes a spin on it where Eden's full of corruption and decay, essentially, and he ends every verse with "inside the gates of Eden," and he has an insightful line at the end. So that kind of is the theme throughout the song. I thought this was good. This was my least favorite on the second side of the LP.
Yeah, mine too.
But that just shows the strength of the other 3 songs. But all in all, good song though.
Agreed.
And then that takes us into maybe the most lyrically dense song that
15 verses
I've just about ever heard, man. I love this song a ton. It's Alright Ma, I'm Only Bleeding. Here Dylan pretty much just examines and critiques everything from the politics, consumerism, religion, hypocrisy of everybody involved in all 3 of those things.
Exactly.
You could listen to the song and pick something up different each time. I thought this was great.
Yeah, my word to describe this would be epic.
Yeah,
it's an epic song. It's 15 verses. There's not really a chorus.
It's almost 8 minutes, I think.
Yeah. And it's crazy. And it's ironic to me, Trey, that every single thing that he's addressing in 1965 is a problem right now in 2019. And this takes us to the final track on this album, It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. And this song, who knows who it's about? It's a song that has a lot of different interpretations.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know who Baby Blue is.
No, and it's probably a mixture of different people, maybe Bob and his girlfriend at the time, Joan Baez, is one of the interpretations, who knows, but it's a good song.
Yeah, my interpretation of it, and I could just be reading this in, is kind of Dylan again saying bye to his previous musical style, the folk movement, political movement. Take this as a stepping stone. That's a line in there. Strike this match. Let's start anew. So even if it's not about him specifically, there's a lot of commonality I think people can share through it. Going on a brand new start, learning from your past, and moving on to a brighter future.
I mean, that brings us up. Favorite song?
Favorite track? It's Alright Ma, I'm Only Bleeding. I would say Subterranean Homesick Blues was also up there. Bob Dylan's 115
Dream.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, man, and She Belongs to Me for a slower type out. And Mr. Tambourine Man, obviously, a classic.
Yeah. And On the Road Again.
No. And that leads us right into our overall score. For me, man, this thing is going to score really high, 9.25 out of 10. On our rating scale, that's album of the year level. I can't wait to jump into some more Dylan.
I can't either. We're going to do that very soon. And I'm going to have to marry you there. I'm just going 9.25. I mean, this thing is just, it's fantastic.
Yeah, just there's a reason he is considered by many the greatest songwriter of all time.
You have to listen to this a lot because his songs are lyrical. They're lyrical.
Yeah.
All right, so you have to listen to it. It's not going to be some great catchy tune that you're going to hear the first time and just be singing over and over. You really have to dive into it. It's fantastic.
And then that'll take us right into our overrated, underrated, properly rated segment. I'm going to go properly rated here. I would definitely put this in the top 30 the albums of all time, just like Rolling Stone did.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorites that we've reviewed on the channel thus far, so I would say properly rated.
I would agree, and we have reviewed some monsters already. It's right up there. Yeah, as you said, it's 30, it's 31 on the Rolling Stone. It's properly rated, meaning it is absolutely fantastic.
I guess, guys, that will wrap it up from us today. Really appreciate you watching. Please comment below your favorite track and what your thoughts are on this amazing record.
And on the road again. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're an On the Road fan, I didn't mean to offend you, but yeah, man. So let us know your thoughts. Be sure to give us a big thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. We upload twice a week, a variety of genres. We're gonna have more Dylan soon, that is for sure. And I really appreciate you guys listening. The growth we've had on the channel has been great thus far. Looking forward to churning out more content in the coming weeks and months to come. So happy listening, my friends, and we will catch you next time.